The historian Tessa Dunlop is here to tell us what's caught her eye in the papers. Morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Lots in the papers this morning. Where are we starting?
Yeah, well, last hour we looked at the sort of fallout of Brexit for the Labour Party with the bigwigs of coming in and apparently about to attack Corbyn at the conference. But this time I thought it was worth going with the Sunday Times. Fox wags his tail at US trade talks. Now, on the front page of the Sunday Times, there's a little amendment to yesterday's news. Of course, we were all told that Philip Hammond, quite miraculously with Theresa May in Italy, with Boris Johnson tactically tucked away in Australia, and of course Liam Fox in America, he had managed to convince everyone, including Liam Fox, that we were going to have a sort of 3-year holding out, wait and see period until 2022. Not so, apparently. Liam Fox says, no, that wouldn't work for the electorate. 1919, we've got to address the issue of immigration. So there's clearly not consensus in the Cabinet, as was yesterday reported. And in fact, quite extraordinarily, given what's going on in the White House at the moment, the sort of, repeal bills are in tatters, the revolving door is manically swinging as everyone's losing their jobs. But Liam Fox is fizzing with excitement and gushing over his prospects to find blue skies in America. And he's very, very excited about US trade
Words you would
talks.
never associate normally with a politician.
No, but don't worry, because according to Liam Fox, he's neither a glass half full nor a glass half empty man.
Whether it's fizzing or not.
Highly enthusiastic. He says, I'm Scottish. The glass can never be big enough. What's really interesting, that's a little footnote, but Liam Fox and Michael Gove, of course, arch Brexiteers, without whom arguably we wouldn't be where we are today, totally out of step with their own nation, Scotland, on this issue. And I think it's quite rarely picked up on. Anyway, he's delighted. Forget chlorinated chickens. Apparently it's all easy. Although, small footnote, he does add, they understand, they being the Americans that still have their jobs, they understand that at the moment we are only able to talk about what it is we want to talk about. Yes.
That basically sums up Brexit
Clear
negotiations so far, doesn't it, as well?
Indeed.
Let's turn our attention to France, because Emmanuel Macron, of course, seen as a big new way of working, bringing a clean sweep to French politics. Exactly, but it's saying here the halo is beginning to fade.
Well, I consider him the Sun King, of course. I mean, he is the successor to Louis XVI, is he not, on his golden throne? But this cannot and will not. About it, does he? It cannot and will not last. In fact, actually, very accurately, the article likens him to Tony Blair, who, of course, 20 years ago exactly, found the centrist way. Is he cribbing his style? Very possibly. You'll remember Tony Blair ushered in Cool Britannia. It made us all cringe a bit because he was such a sort of dad figure, Tony Blair, but he was hanging out with Oasis and the Spice Girls and they came to drinks parties and such like. Well, Macron's done the same. Rhiannon's talking about world education with his wife. Bono is worried about world poverty, or the war on poverty, rather, I should say. But none of this, apparently, is able to maintain Macron's domestic momentum, because what he really needs to do, or he sees he needs to do, is strip away those elephantine labour laws, is tackle overpayment on social security. He's already tried to address spend on the military, which has led to the resignation of the top
It's a huge job he's got ahead of him.
Yeah, and it was always going to be difficult, because he just simply doesn't have the legacy of political structure there to support him.
No, and he does have, of course, the French heritage of resistance. But he needs to remember, if he wants to be like Tony Blair won 3 elections. He's on his first.
Amazing. We know retirement ages keep getting pushed up. Now we're talking about nurses still working at the age of 70. This is The Sun on Sunday.
Well, of course, for you and me, Rachel, I think I exclude Ben here, we discovered just a week or so ago that we were going to have to work a little bit longer till we're 68, 70 taking it to a new high, and we're not talking that for us it's in 20 or so years' time, but here, it's the here and now. We're short of nurses and midwives. Now, that was said to be standing at 11,000 vacancies. The Royal College of Nursing says actually no vacancies in a year of 40,000. So there's this kind of conundrum here. On the one hand, you've got the great immigration debate, and on the other hand, you've got people are living longer. A research was out in 2011. 1/3 of girls born in 2011 could expect to live till they were 100. So what do you do with your old age? And we cost more if we're pensioned off, of course. So arguably we should be kept to work. That's fine if we want to work, if the will is there. You don't want to be nursed by somebody who actually would rather be at home and feels she's entitled to be at home. So I think there's a balance here about dealing with old age. Staying relevant is hugely important, but you've got to want to do that work, because no one wants to be nursed by a reluctant nurse. I've got to say, I was in hospital last year and I had 2 of the most amazing nurses, and I don't think they'd mind me saying they weren't in the first flush of youth. So, of course, nursing experience is great, bringing that and the enthusiasm that one can garner over decades. But it can't be forced upon people.
No one wants to be taught by a reluctant teacher, policed by a reluctant police officer. You know, it carries through all professions, doesn't it? But speaking of old age...
The secret, apparently, is porridge.
Well, how many times have we been told this? Very interesting. I'm working with 6 women of 100 at the moment, actually, and all of them would say they get fed up with the question as to why they live so long. Yeah. It's fluke, says Anne, 103. I don't think it is entirely fluke. This family's really interesting. There were 16 children originally. Now there are 13, and they're in the Guinness Book of Records for their longevity as a group, totting up between them 1,075 years. They're from County Armagh, and there's 13 Donnelly siblings. The youngest is 72. They put it down to porridge. Without a doubt, they clearly had very healthy food, homegrown. You know, you're hardly going
locally
to get...
Local picked vegetables.
But it's
and all
not just once a day, it's twice a day as well.
Porridge in the morning and porridge at night.
How did the mother do it? Can you imagine making 16 bowls of porridge, Goldilocks on a whole new front? You know?
Just do a big vat.
Yeah, but clearly there is, funnily enough, with the women I work with, they all say it's fluke, but invariably in their family you'll find someone else who's lived to 108. Or a grandfather who lived till he was 95 in the 1800s. I think often families have what I call a sort of floating gene, and you might land it, you might not. But of course, you've got to remain healthy. In the small print here, not only is porridge a superfood, by the way, did you know, but also they don't drink. Yeah. And they probably, those 13 that lived
Ben and I noticed that element of that.
Yeah, we zoned in on that.
Yeah, we did.
No glasses of wine on that menu.
Yeah, and we need to also, of course, avoid war, etc. There's ways of staying alive, sensible ways, but it is also a bit of luck. Fluke.
Tessa, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks very much. Nice to see you.